The moment he fired me, he raised his voice like volume could make it official. I heard the words before I felt anything. The command, sharp, clean, like he'd practiced it in front of a mirror. No warm-up, no warning, just the order. Dropped into the room and left there to rot. I stood when my chair scraped back. That dry squeal cut through everything else. It embarrassed him. I could tell. He wanted tears or excuses. Something loud enough to match his tone. I didn't give him that. My name is Marin Caldwell, 54 years old. I placed my badge on the table between us. Not slid. Placed. It landed flat. Plastic tapping wood. A sound small enough to make the room feel bigger. He watched it like it might bite. He waited. I could feel it. The pause where people usually plead, where they explain how long they've been here, and how hard they worked, how loyal they were. I've done that before in my life, and just not today. Good luck to you and your father. The smirk came fast. Too fast. Like relief. Like he thought that line settled something. He leaned back. Arms loose. Already bored. The kind of posture you take when you think you've won before the game starts. I nodded once and turned. Not because I was done. Because staying any longer would have made me reckless. And I didn't trust myself not to say something I couldn't take back. The hallway outside felt colder. The lights hummed. Someone down the hall laughed at a joke I didn't hear. I walked past my own reflection in the glass and barely recognized the woman moving forward without slowing down. Near the end of that walk, before the elevator doors closed, there's something you should know. The story you're about to hear is a fictional work created by the writing team at RevengeAITA. Names, events, and companies are dramatized for storytelling purposes. Any resemblance to real people or situations is coincidental. The door shut. The car dropped. My phone buzzed once in my pocket. I didn't check it. By the time I reached the lobby, I already knew one thing for sure. He thought he had finished something. He hadn't even started. By noon, he was already acting like the room belonged to him. My access was gone from 3 systems before lunch. I know because the alerts hit my phone one after another. Muscle memory still intact, even after the badge came off. Someone upstairs was moving fast. Sloppy fast. An email thread popped up. Same subject line. Different names. Mine missing like it had never been there. I went back for my laptop. HR sat stiff behind the desk. Fingers pressed together. The machine was already boxed. When she slid it across, the fan inside made this thin clicking sound, like it was running on fumes. I'm just following instructions. Her eyes stayed on the cardboard. Not on me, not on the door. I nodded. Not because I agreed, because pushing her wouldn't change who gave the order. Accounting called 10 minutes later. Wrong number. Technically, old habit dies slow. Did you approve these 3 documents? All signed within an hour. All routed around the usual checks. No compliance stamp. No review window. Just confidence and ink. I scrolled while she talked, my thumb stopping on the timestamps. Too clean. Too fast. That's not how this usually I know. I cut in. Soft. Calm. Enough to make her stop mid-sentence. Down the hall. Raised voices leaked through a cracked door. Someone pushing for new reporting lines. Someone else hesitating, then giving in. You can hear authority being borrowed. It always sounds thin. I leaned against the counter and watched the updates roll in. Permissions reassigned. Budgets shifted. A chair claimed without being earned. I could have stepped in. I could have sent one email and frozen the whole thing. Instead, I closed my phone and let it keep happening. This is usually the part where people expect intervention. A warning, a correction. I didn't do either. I stayed still and let him keep writing his version of the day. By the time the afternoon meeting invites went out, he'd signed himself into a corner he didn't know existed, and everyone else had decided to follow him there. I texted his father, the CEO, on the actual one. I kept it short, clean, no emotion, just enough to flag that something had gone sideways. I waited, phone face up on the counter like it might answer me back. Nothing. Hours later, one message came through. Don't respond yet. I'll call. That was it. No context, no reassurance, No attempt to smooth anything over. Just a pause, delivered like a decision. I stared at the screen longer than I should have. Long enough to feel the space where a real response should have been. He wasn't ignoring me. He was delaying me. There's a difference. Delay is intentional. Delay buys someone time. That's when it clicked that this wasn't only about me being walked out of a room, something else was being held back. Trimmed, reframed. The kind of information that sounds harmless once it reaches the top because all the sharp edges have been filed off. I paced the kitchen. Barefoot, the tile cold and unforgiving. I drafted a reply, deleted it, drafted another, shorter, deleted that too. I know myself well enough to know when I'm about to overcorrect. When I start explaining instead of stating facts, I put the phone down and forced my hands to stay still. An email came in from legal. Vague language, neutral tone, a request to stand by, no name attached, no signature at the bottom. That told me plenty. Another buzz, not a call. A calendar update, a meeting added without my name on it. I didn't push. I didn't escalate. I let the silence do its work. Quick aside, since you're here with me, silence like that isn't empty, it's crowded. Full of people deciding what version of the truth survives the trip upstairs. I sat at the table and waited, not for the call, for the moment when waiting stopped being a courtesy and started being leverage. When the phone stayed quiet, I picked it up and turned it face down. Accounting didn't call in a panic. That's how I knew it mattered. Her voice stayed low. Careful. We're seeing a timing issue. I asked her to forward the file. The document opened on my phone. Clean layout. Familiar language. The approval stamp sat above the review window. Not minutes early. Hours. Logged before anyone with authority could even touch it. That's unusual. She offered, like she was testing the word. It's impossible. I answered, and she went quiet. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't need to. The proof was sitting there. Black text on white. He hadn't pushed the process. He'd stepped around it. There's a difference, and anyone who's been here long enough knows it. A second message followed. Another attachment. Different contract. Same problem. I set my coffee down and watched the steam thin out. Let it cool. Let myself cool with it. Someone from legal pinged the thread. Not with an objection. With a soft nudge. Let's revisit routing. That was the tell. When legal uses gentle words, it's because they're already worried. Down the hallway. Laughter burst out of a meeting room and cut off just as fast. The kind of laugh that comes from adrenaline. Someone enjoying the sound of their own momentum. I typed one line to accounting. Don't fix it. She hesitated. I could feel it through the delay. Leave it as is. I added, document everything. A pause, then a single reply. Understood. He wasn't just claiming authority anymore. He was rewriting the order of things, trusting that confidence could stand in for permission. And everyone around him was letting it happen because stopping it would mean choosing friction. Quick aside, this is usually where someone shrugs and says it'll be fine. They say it because saying anything else would mean doing something. I didn't do anything. Not yet. I locked my phone and let the approvals stack where he'd left them, each one quietly recording how fast he'd gone and how little he'd checked. By the time the next document came through, the pattern was already set. The email came from a name I recognized immediately. No greeting. No buffer. If Marin's gone, we pause everything. That was the whole message. I read it once. Then again. Let it sit. I didn't forward it. Didn't reply. There was nothing to clarify. They knew what they were saying, and so did I. The fallout started fast. Calendars filled. Meetings stacked on top of each other. People who hadn't spoken to each other in months suddenly needed alignment. I watched it happen through forwarded threads and half-finished drafts that still landed in my inbox out of habit. His number flashed on my phone mid-afternoon. I let it ring. A voicemail followed. His voice came in tight, clipped around the edges. We need to talk. No apology. No context. Just urgency. Dressed up like cooperation. Like this was a small miscommunication that could be smoothed out if we all just adjusted our tone. I listened once, deleted it, stared at the screen longer than necessary, felt the familiar tug to be reasonable, helpful. The version of myself that fixes things even when no one asked her to. That version didn't get a vote. Another call came in. I flipped the phone face down and slid it across the table until it stopped buzzing. The silence after felt heavy, like pressure dropping too fast. Quick aside, you can hear panic through a phone speaker. It's not loud, it's rushed. Words tripping over each other, trying to sound calm while chasing control. By the end of the day, people stopped pretending this was about performance. It was about leverage now. Contracts, deadlines, promises made out loud and written down. Someone forwarded the client's email to him. I know because 10 minutes later, my phone lit up again. No voicemail this time. Just missed calls, stacked like a tally. I didn't answer. I let the message do its work, let it move through the building without me carrying it, let him sit with the realization that my absence hadn't erased my influence. When the office lights dimmed and the noise thinned out, I closed my laptop and left the room the way I'd entered it. Quiet. Still in control. The memo landed before lunch. Company-wide, neutral font, cold subject line, unprofessional conduct, disruption, failure to align. My name sat there like a stain. Bolded once, then repeated in softer language like that made it kinder. No examples, no dates, just tone, vibes, enough to let people fill in the blanks themselves. My phone rang a minute later, a number I knew by heart. She didn't waste time. Don't respond. No greeting, no checking in, not even to correct it. She added, like she could hear me inhaling. I leaned back and stared at the ceiling. The hum from the vent was louder than it needed to be. My jaw hurt from clenching it. They want you emotional. She continued. They want you typing, forwarding, explaining. I said nothing. Anything you send becomes part of their story. She finished. That's how they trap you. I thanked her and hung up. Sat there with the phone in my hand like it might start talking again. Emails started coming in. Not from leadership, from coworkers. You okay? Heard something weird? This doesn't sound like you. I typed responses. Deleted them. Typed shorter ones. Deleted those too. Every sentence felt like a thread someone else could pull. Across the building, meetings kept happening without me. Doors closed. Decisions made. My absence repackaged as a liability. I wanted to walk back in and point at the memo. Wanted to say, read it again. Read it slowly. Tell me what I actually did. Instead, I shut my laptop and let the silence stretch. Quick aside. Since you're here with me, silence isn't strength. It's restraint. There's a difference, and it costs more than people think. By late afternoon, the tone shifted. Less confidence, more urgency. The kind that leaks when a plan starts wobbling. I stayed still and let them keep talking. Every word they added without me made the record cleaner. Logs don't care about confidence, or titles, or tone. They just record access records, timestamps, credential reuse, a clean list that didn't argue back when I scrolled. The server gave off a low hum, steady and annoyed, like it knew what it was watching and didn't approve. He logged in using someone else's name. Not once. Repeatedly. Same account, same window. A shortcut dressed up as efficiency. He adjusted numbers after the fact. Not enough to raise alarms, just enough to justify decisions already made. I copied the entries into a separate file and labeled them by date. No commentary, no interpretation. Facts stack better when you don't decorate them. A message popped up from IT. Casual, almost friendly. Everything okay on your end? I didn't answer right away. Let it sit, then typed a single line. Please preserve all access logs from the last 3 business days. The typing bubble appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Understood. That was new. A shift. People get careful when they realize someone's paying attention. I pulled one more report. Network changes. Same pattern, same account. He treated shared credentials like a spare key left under the mat. Convenient until it isn't. Another notification slid in, this time from legal. Not a warning. A question. Do you have documentation to support your position? I sent the folder. No message attached. The hum didn't change. The system didn't react. It just kept recording. I didn't feel angry anymore. The heat burned off somewhere between the third log and the fourth. What replaced it was steadier, colder, the kind of calm that comes when the path forward stops branching. Quick aside, people think deleting files erases mistakes. It doesn't. It just adds another line to the record. By the time I closed the laptop, the case was already built. Not by me, by him. All I'd done was stop looking away. The invite came through marked urgent. Board level, no agenda. He arrived early, relaxed, jacket over one shoulder like this was a formality. He nodded at people the way you do when you think you own the outcome. I came in after him. Security didn't stop me. The assistant didn't hesitate. She just stepped aside and pointed to a chair already pulled out. His eyes flicked over, paused, came back. Why is she here? No one answered right away. Paper shuffled. Someone cleared their throat. The chair across from me scraped back a few inches, then stopped. The name placard in front of me caught his attention next. He leaned forward, squinting like the letters might rearrange themselves if he stared long enough. That's not right. The general counsel didn't look at him when she spoke. It is... Silence landed heavy. Someone at the far end kept tapping a pen against the table. Fast and uneven. It didn't stop. He straightened, smile thinning. This meeting is about her conduct. The chair beside him stayed empty. His father's seat. That absence did more work than any accusation. The counsel slid a folder across the table. Not toward me, toward him. Before we discuss conduct, she said, we need to address authority. He laughed once, short, sharp. Authority isn't the issue. It was the wrong line. Another folder followed. Then another. Dates, logs, approvals stacked in quiet agreement. I stayed still. Hands folded. Let the weight move without me touching it. He tried again. Louder. You can't bring her in like this. The chair at the head of the table finally filled. His father didn't sit. He stood behind it. Eyes on the documents. Not on his son. She didn't bring herself. He said, we did. I felt the shift then. Not dramatic. Just final. The kind you feel in your chest before anyone admits it out loud. Quick aside, you can watch confidence drain without a sound when the room stops backing it. No one asked me to speak. They didn't need to. The meeting moved on. Without him leading it, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. The general counsel turned one page, then another. The paper made a soft, dry sound like it was tired of being handled. Before we proceed, she said, eyes still down, we need clarity on ownership. I slid the folder forward. Not fast, not slow, just enough to cross the line in the middle of the table. The operating company is held by a trust. I said, that trust controls voting rights. He shifted in his chair. The leg scraped once, stopped. The trust has one beneficiary. The counsel continued, now looking at him, and one authorized decision maker. I nodded. That's me. Someone exhaled. Not a sigh. More like relief finding a way out. He leaned back, then forward again, as if distance might change the words. That's not possible. The counsel tapped the page where the figure sat. Clean and final. It is... I pointed to the line without touching it. 90%. The room went quiet in a way that felt physical. Like sound had weight and someone set it down. He opened his mouth, closed it, tried again. You're saying I'm saying the math doesn't argue? I said, still calm. It concludes. His father finally sat, not heavily, deliberately. He didn't look at his son when he spoke. This explains the contracts. The counsel slid another document across, and the authority gap. He stared at the papers like they'd betrayed him, like confidence alone should have been enough to keep them loyal. No one threatened him. No one needed to. Quick aside numbers hit harder than insults. They don't flare up. They settle. The counsel folded her hands. We'll move to remedies. He swallowed hard. The sound carried. I stayed still. Let the room finish the sentence without me adding a word. By the time the counsel closed the folder, the outcome had already stopped moving. He wasn't fired. The counsel used a different word, careful and precise. Removed. She slid the papers across, not toward him, toward the center. Signatures he'd rushed sat there, clean and undeniable. Process did the rest. No speeches, No raised voices, just the sound of a pen set down when it was over. He tried to laugh it off at first. A thin sound. Then nothing. His shoulders dropped like he'd finally realized where the floor was. "This isn't personal," his father said. Eyes still on the documents. That hurt him more than anger would have. Security waited by the door. Not aggressive, just present. He stood, hesitated, looked at me like I might intervene. I didn't move. Authority was reassigned in 3 lines. Locked in, final, the kind of decision that doesn't echo, it just settles. Someone asked if I wanted the role. I shook my head. No. They waited, like I'd changed my mind. I don't want the chair. I added, I want the structure. That landed. I named an interim lead. Someone steady, someone boring. The council nodded. The board approved without discussion. Control stayed where it belonged. Quiet, durable. He left without a scene. No last words. The door closed behind him and stayed closed. I went home after, sat on the couch, let the day catch up to me. No rush of victory. No relief. Just a tired calm that felt earned and heavy at the same time. Quick aside, winning doesn't clean you up. It just leaves you with fewer things to carry. Before I slept, I wrote 1 line on a scrap of paper and left it on the counter. Power isn't proven by how loudly you take a seat. It's proven by how carefully you build the room so it never needs you to shout.